Ray Tomlinson, the American programmer who invented the first email system, has died of a heart attack at the age of 74. Tomlinson invented email in 1971 by accident while working on a file transfer program. The first two messages were sent between computers that were side by side, kicking off an era of office communication that could be and perhaps should be done in person. Now, the technology expert Prasanto Roy joins us now from New Delhi to discuss Tomlinson's legacy. Mr. Roy, good to speak to you this afternoon. So just take us through, how important do you think Tomlinson's contribution is to email?
Well, it changed the world, and even today it is the predominant way of carrying text electronically or across any type of communication, because the normal postal system doesn't really exist, almost doesn't exist. So it completely changed the world for the last 2.5 decades, and it's only now that we've been talking for a few years of email nearly dying, but nobody's really seen that actually happen. So it was really transformative, and all of business completely depends on email.
Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned the postal service. I mean, that is still going, but email has had its peak, hasn't it? Lots of people are now communicating via instant messenger services.
Well, that's something that's begun to happen now. Actually, for the first time in the last couple of years, other forms of instant messaging and communication, especially with the next generation, have kind of taken over. In business and work communication, however, email remains predominant, even though there are work sharing systems like IBM WebSphere and so on. Still, maybe 85–90% of work communication continues to happen on email, and that is something I don't see changing for at least the next 5 or 10 years. Even though people are still writing obituaries for email at this point of time.
Yeah, and what do you think that is down to? Is that a generational thing? Do you think when the next generation enters the workforce, they'll not be so used to using email and will want sharing services like the ones you mentioned, the Microsoft Messenger service and things like that?
I think that's partly it, but the thing is, email is the sheer convenience of it, the fact it keeps a very simple record. It's so easy to choose between, whom to share and not to share. There's simply no system that rivals it in terms of standardization. So while there are lots and lots of systems which are collaboration systems, they're called team collaborative systems for work, for small business, all of that, and nothing has really been able to edge in with more than, let's say, 0.1% of market share. But on the other hand, the younger generation, the kids, I mean, they're clearly on different platforms. I mean, today, if you talk of Facebook, the new kids are not on Facebook, they're on Snapchat and Instagram. So, clearly, I mean, they're going to be facing a bit of a sort of a culture shock when they jump into work, because they will have to take to what they see as, last century's technologies. But I think that's going to continue to be the predominant system for at least a decade ahead.
Well, really interesting stuff. We'll have to leave it there, but Prasanto Roy, thanks for joining us from